I'm Stephen Paluga with WatchGuard Capital, and I've been working on a national debt project since 2019. I already figured out how to save and fix Social Security, but recently I've been hearing a lot of people call for a scrap the cap plan, which I'll explain in this video. What is the cap? Per the Social Security Administration's website, Social Security's Old Age, Survivors and Disability Insurance Program limits the amount of earnings subject to taxation for a given year. The same annual limit also applies when those earnings are used in a benefit computation. This limit changes each year with changes in the National Average Wage Index. We call this annual limit the contribution and benefit base. This amount is also commonly referred to as the taxable maximum. For earnings in 2024, the base is $168,600. And here are the contribution and benefit bases, or taxable maximums, from 1937 to 2024. And let's put those in a graph. In 1937, Americans had to pay Social Security taxes on the first $3,000 of qualifying income. In 2023, that amount is now $160,200. But there is a big difference between $3,000 in 1937 and $3,000 in 2023. So we need to convert all these to 2023 constant dollars, which we can do with the Bureau of Labor Statistics inflation calculator. $3,000 in 1937 is equivalent to $63,653 in 2023 dollars. And these gray lines will represent the contribution and benefit base amounts in 2023 constant dollars. Which means that on a constant 2023 dollar basis, top taxpayers today are paying Social Security taxes on about 2.5 times more income in order to earn an entitlement to benefits than the first participants of Social Security, because the contribution and benefit base was raised to $160,200. But that's only half the equation. This red line represents the combined employer and employee Social Security tax rate. In 1937, a total 2% Social Security tax rate was applied to the first $3,000 of qualifying income. In 2023, a total 12.4% Social Security tax rate is applied to the first $160,200 of qualifying income, which means that on a nominal dollar basis, the green bars, on a constant dollar basis, the gray bars, and an absolute tax rate basis, the red line, we already raised the cost of Social Security significantly on American workers to the highest point in history in order to earn entitlements for benefits, and the system is still mathematically breaking. And here's why scrap the cap is not the right fix for Social Security. The last major overhaul of Social Security was in 1983. We increased the Social Security tax rate, we increased the age someone has to reach to collect full benefits to age 67, which doesn't even take full effect until 2027, and we started taxing Social Security benefits to reduce the windfall enjoyed by early participants. But let's say instead of doing all that, we decided to scrap the cap and tax Americans on all of their income. Would that have put us in a better position today? Maybe, or maybe not, and here's why. This is the IRS's Statistics of Income website. This is the number of returns by type of business from 1980 to 2015, the most recent report available. After the Social Security amendments of 1983, when taxes went up, and through 2015, the number of C corporations, or large businesses most people think of when they hear corporation, declined by over 736,000, or 31%. But the number of S corps grew by 3.8 million, or 592%, between 1983 and 2015. If you own and work for your own S corp, you actually get to decide how much you pay yourself as an employee, which is reported on a W-2, and how much you take as an owner's draw, which is reported on a K-1. Both of these forms and income are eventually reported on your annual tax return, so you pay the same federal income taxes either way. What's different is that you have to pay Social Security taxes on the income you pay yourself as an employee on the W-2, but not on the income you take as an owner's draw on the K-1, because no Social Security tax is due on that type of income. So in essence, you get to decide how much income you pay Social Security taxes on and how much you don't. So if we scrap the cap, more people will likely form S corps and/or reduce the amount of income subject to Social Security taxes, because that's what they did last time. But let's say our wealthier Americans didn't form S corps to avoid paying Social Security taxes on their income, and instead of having a Social Security fund with $2.6 trillion, we had one that had $22.6 trillion in value, or $20 trillion more. Well, since that $22.6 trillion would be invested 100% in special issued treasury debt that is subject to the debt limit, which I explained in this video called My Self IOUs, we would have $20 trillion more of national debt right now. So if we scrapped the cap and collected more Social Security taxes than necessary to pay benefits, we would have expanded the Social Security Trust Fund much faster while simultaneously expanding our national debt levels faster. And before we could ever scrap the cap, we probably need to scrap the gap first. The tax gap, that is, which is the amount of unpaid taxes per year, which I reviewed extensively in this 3-part series titled What the Hell is the Tax Gap? And there is over $600 billion of tax evasion occurring annually now, and that number has only been growing. If you want a full breakdown of our tax fraud, watch the Tax Gap series. But in 2019, Americans earning under $10,000 per year were estimated to be evading $127 in taxes per year. Americans making $44,000 to $58,000 were estimated to be evading about $1,400 in taxes. And Americans making over $1 million per year were estimated to be evading over $152,000 in taxes on average in 2019. So if we scrap the cap and increase the contribution and benefit base, but didn't scrap the gap and increase our tax compliance rates, the Americans we would be targeting to collect more taxes from will most likely evade or avoid those new Social Security tax bills. And it might be hard to blame them this time, because why should the working rich pay more in Social Security taxes just to continue paying the retired rich more in Social Security benefits? This is the IRS's Individual Income Tax Returns Complete Report for 2020. On page 65, you can see the 31,691,000 returns that were filed by people who earned Social Security benefits. This is that same information plus a little more. Those 31,691,000 returns claimed over $774 billion of Social Security benefits. The average benefit was $24,000. The individuals with the least amount of income and thus the highest need for Social Security benefits were paid the smallest average benefit of $19,554. The individuals with the highest income of over $10 million for the year, and thus the lowest need for Social Security income, were paid the largest average benefit of $43,372, with all other average benefits falling somewhere in between. If you are making over $200,000, it's fairly obvious that you are doing all right in our society and belong in the lower need level category for Social Security benefits. If you are making under $50,000 and half, if not all of your income comes from Social Security, it's also fairly obvious that you belong in the higher need level category. The questionable area is this one, with the 4.5 million tax returns with income between $50,000 and $75,000, the 3.3 million tax returns with income of $75,000 to $100,000, and the 4.9 million tax returns with income between $100,000 and $200,000 who are all collecting Social Security benefits. So let's err on the side of caution and add 2 groups to the higher need level group and the last remaining group of tax returns with income of $100,000 to $200,000 to the lower need level group, which means we have 25.1 million total households in the higher needs level group and 6.5 million total households in the lower needs level group. $563 billion in benefit payments are going to households with the higher need level, and $210 billion in benefit payments are going to households with a lower need level. And since the plan is to scrap the cap and tax the rich, why don't we just divert this $210 billion in benefit payments that is going to the lower need group who are more rich and give it to the higher needs group who are less rich, which would solve Social Security's funding needs. Now at this point, proponents of the scrap the cap and tax the rich plan will most likely say,
wait, those 6.5 million households paid Social Security taxes and earned those benefits. We didn't mean take those tens of thousands of dollars of Social Security benefit payments. We meant scrap the cap on that earned income and tax hundreds of thousands of dollars from them and millions of dollars from them, and then give those tax dollars to these Americans. But we still need to give some of these dollars back to the original owners because they should be able to keep their Social Security benefits because they earned it.
Which makes absolutely no sense, but does mean the following. The working rich would pay more in Social Security taxes to continue paying the retired rich Social Security benefits they don't need. and some Americans would pay more in Social Security taxes in a single year than they would ever collect during their entire lifetime, even if they were receiving the maximum benefit. So the fact that collecting extra Social Security taxes creates more national debt, and the cost of earning a Social Security entitlement is already the highest in history, and that the impacted taxpayers would just legally avoid those taxes with an S-Corp or illegally evade them by not reporting their income is why scrap the cap is not the answer to fix Social Security, but just another way to kick the can down the road. But what should we do then? Literally everything I've already said to do in this video series that took me thousands of hours to figure out, including investing our Social Security Trust Fund in anything but national debt, and combine all our federal income and payroll taxes into a single unified tax code, which I explain in this series and in Modern Monetary Theory Part 4 how to fix it, and simplify our tax code so the IRS has an actual chance of enforcing it, which I explain how to do in What the Hell is the Tax Gap Part 3, Top 10 Ideas to Fix Our Tax Code, because it's time for real solutions, not time to double down on previous ones that won't work anymore. So let's not scrap the cap, let's scrap the tax gap, and let's fix Social Security together and invest our time wisely. I'm Stephen Peluga. Vote for me if I ever have to run for office.